the only person to have reached $10,000 a month in earnings, and more shockingly, with only 7,000 people in his team. His team is now over 14,000 people in over 72 countries around the world. He is happily married after proposing to his wife with a $47,000 Ferry Mosh 21 karat gold ring, now worth $80,000, with two boys, and is able to travel the world with his family. His custom $2 million home, wow, is almost complete, and he's here to help support us and train us. Rene is a founding member, shareholder, and sits on the company's CEO's advisory board. He is my mentor and coach, and please meet Rene Liaw. Rene?
Well, thank you so much, Sophia. First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And again, thank you for that wonderful, kind introduction. Thank you, thank you. So, and a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whoever you are in the world and wherever you are. Today, we have a really fun training on one of my sort of favorite topics I'd like to talk about. And that topic is, of course, called closing. The closing, people call it different names. Some call it post tour, some call it a survey, some call it closing. Really, at the end of the day, the whole point of this training is to be able to allow your prospect to see the same kind of vision, the same kind of potential that you see, but of course also the excitement that you have as well too. So if you have a pen and paper, perhaps take some notes, not of everything I'm saying, but just the main things that really that you found hit home for you, things that you really felt can really improve your own possibility when it comes to closing. So let's get started right away. Now, one of the things I do want to mention about the survey training is that some people believe that the closing process with their prospect starts after they have watched the presentation. The reality and truth of it is it couldn't be further from that. The actual closing of your prospect, the closing of your clients, actually starts from the very first time you see them and you talk to them. So it's when you're doing the approach. So what I'm saying is when the first time you're approaching your prospect, guess what? The closing process has already begun, because the better of the impression you can give to your prospect, the more you can have them like you and trust you and feel that you are going to become that you are very knowledgeable, but also very very serious about achieving your goals, but also to help them achieve their goals. The more they feel that from you at the very beginning, the very first time they meet you, okay, we always like to remind people that the first impression is a lasting impression. So keep in mind that the survey closing, although we do have a lot of great tips for you guys, the closing process, a lot of it relates to how you first start that initial, not so much, what you're telling the prospect, but more about making them like you and trust you and trusting in that you have the ability to lead them with a proper team to having success. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go through all of today's training. Some quick closing tips, all right? So we have what's called the three E's. And what the three E's are things that you have to have in every single one of your meetings. You'll never see me in a meeting where I don't have excitement out the roof. My energy is very high. I'm very enthusiastic. And if you have, what I like to do here is to make you think back to when you've had your prospects. And I want you to think back to when you're sitting down with your prospect, did you have these three E's? In the times where they did not get started, were you not excited? Were you not with good energy? Did you not have enthusiasm? Because if you can say no to one of those three things, then I can assure you that is a huge reason why, over almost 80% of the reason why they did not get started. Because at the end of the day, the things that you're telling your prospects and the things that I'm telling my prospects, they're seeing the same business, right? They're seeing exactly the same business. And a lot of times, what we're seeing is almost the same thing. So the only difference between what I'm doing or what someone else is doing that's having higher ratio of closing versus someone who's having a lower ratio of closing, the only difference comes down to the three E's. How much excitement, energy, enthusiasm are they seeing from us? Okay, so that's the three E's. And of course, I do want to add the three D's. So before going into the don'ts, the three D's, you can write it down, stands for dialogue, okay, your delivery, and your determination. So dialogue, delivery, and determination. Dialogue meaning what exactly are the things that you are talking about, okay? That's dialogue. Delivery is, are you delivering it with the three E's? Are you delivering your message with energy, excitement, and enthusiasm? And then, of course, you have determination. Are you determined to help your prospect to see what you see? Because sometimes, unfortunately, bad timing, previous burnt company, who knows whatever the reason why. Sometimes people don't see exactly the same things that you see, but are you determined enough to help them go through those things? Some people, they hear the objection, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time. But are you determined to showing your prospect how this business can give them more time in the future? They say to you, I don't have much money to join. Are you determined to help show this person how this business can change their life by earning more income? So that's what I mean by by determination, to not give up and to constantly help go through handling their objections. Now, some quick don'ts that you don't want to do is after they have seen the presentation, the one bad question you could probably ask after the tour is done is you ask them, what did you think? Okay, when you ask the question, what did you think? It gives them a chance to be negative or to not be excited about the answer. It's not for me. I think it's not, this is too hard. That's too hard. I don't have much time. So instead of asking the question, what did you think after they watched the presentation, you should be asking them instead, what did you like the most? Okay, a simple little switch in the dialogue of your conversation can really impact the outcome of your presentation. So don't ask, what did you think? What's your opinion so far? Ask, what did you like the most? What's the most exciting thing that you saw today? Simply changing the dialogue can impact the outcome dramatically. Um, and when you ask those questions, again, wait for the answer. Sometimes I see some people who ask a question and they see their prospect thinking about the answer and they just start talking again. No, you got to wait for them to give you the answer so you can elaborate and understand what was the thing that your prospect actually wants and likes the most. You can talk about that. Another don't. Do not ask a question, do you want to join now? Okay, because if they say no, now you have a tough time to go through that. Instead of asking that question, um, what I usually like to ask is, so which package were you thinking of, or which package most interests you, or which package is most feasible right now in getting that position, getting started, or which BDM do you want to get started and launch right away with? So again, a simple change in dialogue can really impact the conversation here. Now, guys, this training here, I hope you understand, it's training that a lot of the top leaders like myself have spent a lot of money in outside third-party training courses to learn, and you're getting this information for free. So the key thing here is to understand that it's very, very highly effective techniques here, but you have to apply to it. Okay. And of course, another don't you don't want to do is you don't want to ask the question, if they tell you, time is not right for me, you don't want to look desperate and say, why don't you want to join? Okay, never ever look desperate. If you look desperate, it means that you just want their money. They can't see you being desperate for them to join. They have to see you being enthusiastic about them joining, but not desperate in them joining. There's a big difference between you looking desperate and you being enthusiastic for them to be part of your team. Okay, understand that, all right? And of course, instead of doing that, what I do like to ask, if I feel that my prospect is not ready yet, I might ask a question. So John, if there's one thing, if there was one thing holding you back, what might that one thing be that's holding you from getting started today? Because sometimes when your prospect tells you an objection, and we have a whole training topic on handling objection, that's a different training topic altogether. But when they do ask you and give you an objection, okay, sometimes it's not the real objection. Sometimes it's actually a different objection that's being covered. So we have this saying, it's like a big giant onion. You want to peel back the layers on the onion until you find the core reason why they're not getting started. So 99% of the time when they tell you I don't have the money is not the real objection. There's something else that's in their mind. I say I don't have any time. Most of the time, that's not the real objection. Okay, so we have a training topic on that called handling objection. You can go and watch that at a different point in time. Carrying forward here, 4 questions that I do like to ask especially in the closing time, that can really help you get things going is, after you talked a little bit, ask this question. Say, based upon what you've seen here today, if you were to get started on a part-time basis, about how much money would you need to make monthly to make this business worth your time? And I love asking this question for a variety of reasons, okay? Number one, I like asking this question because now my prospect realizes that I actually am serious about them making money, that it seems like I actually have a plan in mind because I'm asking them very specific questions, okay? And they'll tell you, well, I want to make $500 a month. And this also allows you to find out what are their expectations. Sometimes you don't know if someone will be happy earning $100 a month, extra money. That could be a lot of money to somebody. Sometimes it could be $2,000 a month. So we want to become more efficient and understand what exactly is our prospects' goals when it comes to making more money, and what would really make it worth their time to spend that time here and to earn that kind of income. Okay, so you write down their answer, and then you ask them question number two. Question number two is about how many hours per week are you willing to realistically commit to earning that money you just answered in first question. So they told you, I want to make an extra $400 per month. Okay, well, but how many hours per week would you commit realistically to attaining that $400 per month? Because sometimes people are unrealistic. They want to make $1,000 per month spending 2 hours a week. That's not going to happen. Well, it can happen actually at GWT, but we don't want them to have that wrong kind of expectation when it comes to doing a business, right? I want people to understand that we are doing a business here. And the reason why I ask them, hours per week is because everyone gets usually paid on a per hour basis, right? You get paid per hour and that's your salary. So if someone's only making $20 per hour Canadian, or I don't know, 20,000 naira, per hour, whatever it might be, right? If sometimes people have the most ridiculous answers. I want to make $10,000 per month with 2 hours a week. I say no job would pay you $5,000 per hour, right? So I wanted to be realistic here when it comes to making this business work. The third question, about how many months would you be willing to commit to the business, working those hours per week to attain that income per month? So again, being very specific here, asking questions here to have them realize that there actually is a game plan here at GWT to allowing you to earn that income you want to earn. Okay? So if someone tells me they want to make $10,000 per month working 1 hour per week for the next 1 month, I would tell them it's not for you, go buy a lottery ticket. Okay? The point here is to have them realize that there is some work to be done here, but the goals are attainable. And the last question, which is the money question, the last question is, if I could show you how to develop that income per month working those hours per week over the next 36 months, 24 months, is there anything else you would need to know before getting started? If they say no, you say great, and my famous line I love to use is, well, you know what, let's get you started. If you're at home, repeat after me, let's get you started. That's the most inintrusive, non-intrusive way, to having someone start to agree to commit to the business. It's, let's get you started. Let's rock and roll. Let's get you started here. Okay. If you ask these 4 questions, what will happen for your prospect is they really start to realize that, man, you know what, there's something real here. There's a real game plan here involved. Because he's offering to show me by working that many hours per week over the next few months, it's a real possibility to earning that income. And so if they tell you, no, I'm ready to get started, great, let's get you started. If they do have an objection, they will tell you, well, actually, you know what? Well, how does this work? How does that work? Questions are always good. I always want to have more and more questions because questions mean that they're interested. If someone just after seeing the tour isn't joining and doesn't have any questions, it means that they're holding that information in, and we have to start to peel that layers on the onion, right? They're asking questions, it means they're actually interested, all right? So questions are good things here. So I love asking these 4 questions, and try that the next time you're doing a closing. Now, some other quick things that you want to have in terms of tools during the closing process is, number one, you got to have the survey, okay? Because the survey, if you're not strong in closing right now and you're scared to ask those questions, then go and download the survey, print it out, and have it there. Because once the presentation is done, the first thing you want to do is get the survey into your prospect's hands. Because the survey will ask questions that will allow you to understand what part of the business they're interested in. Would it be the designer lines? Would it be the products? Would it be the accolades? Would it be the business? Would it be about the earning potential? The survey is designed to help you figure out where your client is, and we will be mentioning going over the survey a bit later on. Um, I always love showing team strategy. If you don't know what team strategy is, again, on my website, which is the OURGWT.com, 6 letters, OurGWT.com, on the left-hand side, I have all this training sorted alphabetically. So you go to T for team strategy, and I show my prospects team strategy because I want to tell them why they should join now and not wait 1 week or a few days. I want them to understand that the power of positioning is so important. Okay, so I always give examples of stories of people who missed out on position and stories of people who actually position themselves. So as you all know, Reza Mizgarlu, our first millionaire national ambassador of the company, he got started in 2005. And for 3 years, he was just busy working his government cushy job. But after 3 years, guess what happened? He had banked over $8 million of commissionable volume on one of his two legs. So he was set for the rest of his life to go build his other leg. So I love sharing stories of people who got to position. Same like Winnie and Sarah. They got started. For 9 months, they went back to the other business. They came back in 9 months. They had a team of 150 people, 100,000 volume bent on one leg, right? And I also share stories of people who did not get a position. People like Sherry, who has a very famous story, okay? Or Eric. Eric's one of my coworkers who I showed this to when I first got started 8 years ago. Did not join 8 years ago. 7 years later, 7.5 years later, he saw the check on my Facebook page. And basically, long story short, he got started after 7, 8 years. So, had he got positioned 8 years ago, he would have been light years ahead. His life would be completely different, right? So the purpose of showing these stories is number one, in MLM, facts tell, but stories sell. Write that down. Facts tell, but stories sell. And number two is that facts are not emotional. People can't really relate to facts, but stories are emotional. They drive emotion. People can relate to that. That's why you want to share more stories. Okay, so definitely, we are in the storytelling business, right? Okay, as our CEO always says. If it applies to you, also show the tax savings. Okay, we have a little fill in the blank template. If it does apply to you in your country, then use it. If not, stick to number one and number two. Okay, but also I like asking 3 questions. And these 3 questions you can ask whether or not you have tax savings. The first question you ask is, can you see how this plan can make you some money? They will say, well, yeah, sure. Number two, are you interested in making some extra money? Yeah, of course I would be. If there's ever a good time to start making some money, when would that time be? And they'll tell you, oh, right now. And you say, let's get you started. And that's where the fourth tool that you have to use here, that I'm actually going to do a quick modification and add this in there, okay? You want to make sure that you have the application form also ready. Okay, so the fourth tool, I'm going to stick in here really quickly. Just got to figure out how to do this. Okay, it's going to be the application. Okay, if you don't have the application, I don't know how you're going to be able to entice them to get them, not to entice, but how to get them started. Okay, so long story short, you've got to have the application form handy, because sometimes people, when they're done watching the presentation, they actually want to join, but they don't really know what's the next steps. So one quick funny story, I actually had someone in my one of my team's guests who was, after the tour was done, they had 3 people talking to them, excited, energy, enthusiasm, and he wasn't really reacting. So no one really knew why he wasn't joining. When I sat down, I asked him one simple question. So there's one thing holding you back from joining. What might that one thing be? And he says, well, actually, I want to join, I just don't know how to sign up. So the whole time people are talking to him, you want to join. What we were missing was the application form. He didn't know the next steps. Another story, I was in Taiwan, um, put an ad on Kijiji, had someone came out, okay, for the presentation. And what happened was, after I was done, I knew that he needed some time. And so I told him, I'm going to go use the washroom. Here's your survey, and here's the application form. Can you please just go over through this while I go to the washroom? And I had the survey on top and the application form right underneath the survey. Okay. By the time I went to the washroom, washed my, did my thing, washed my hand, came outside. Long story short, he was already filling out the application form. So had I not had that application form there with me at that coffee shop, if I would have went to the washroom, came out, he wouldn't have got started yet. There would have been more work for me to do. So make sure you always have copies of the survey, that you show the team strategy, and have copies of the application form printed out. I mean, you want to have 100 copies at all times, right? This is how launch your business, right? Okay, people want to get started, you have to be able to help them get started. Moving forward here, uh, follow up. I can't stress how important follow up actually is. How do you improve the probability of closing? It's very simple. You book more follow ups, okay? The reality is we can do all the right things, but sometimes people, they just need more time. We just, we can't force that. We can't look desperate. We can share them exciting stories about closing and team strategy and power positioning, but sometimes, you know what, they just need more time. So what you want to do is you want to book more follow-ups. Okay, the more times you follow up with someone, the more likely they will join. If you're being someone out once and they don't join and you never call them again, it's over. All that time you spent on coffees, getting together, going to the meeting location, spending an hour and a half, 2 hours there, all that time you spent, if you don't call someone back up again and follow up with them, you just wasted all of that time. So to follow up is very inexpensive. To follow up might just cost you $2 for a coffee. But to not follow up becomes very expensive. You might have lost yourself a hot shot just because you didn't follow up. Okay, so what I've experienced on average, after the third follow up, okay, so if you're effectively able to book another follow up and another follow up, that person will most likely join. It may take longer sometimes, but if people never hear from you again, they're thinking you were just doing this for a one time thing, you didn't really care about them, and that you wanted their money. But if you actually keep following up after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, if you keep following up, they know that you're actually still in the business, number one, that you didn't just join and quit, you're still in the business. Number two, that you're serious about the business as well too. Okay? Um, Other stats here, 99% of the people saying no to you was simply a lack of follow-up. Eric took me 8 years of follow-ups to finally see him again. I had someone else who saw this business actually about 5 years ago, didn't get started. 5 years later, we reconnected again and we're following up. So, again, there's a saying, right? The fortune is in the follow-up. No follow-up, basically there's nothing there for you. You just wasted all that time and money trying to invite the person to see your business. Okay. Again, some other quick closing tips. When you are doing closing, make sure you listen. You try to listen to what the process is telling you. Sometimes some of you guys, you're so excited, which is great, about your own business that you're not listening to what that person is trying to tell you. They're trying to tell you about some questions they have or some objections, and you're either not really answering their questions or you're not even listening to the point where you keep changing the topic. People won't join you until they felt that they were able to ask their questions. Imagine yourself, you're seeing a business, you have questions. You wouldn't get started until at least you realize that you've got a chance to ask your questions and have those questions answered, right? So the same thing here. Make sure you spend the time to really answer the questions. Another tip, answering the question does not mean creating more questions. Okay, so when you answer someone's question, some of you end up talking so much more than you're listening that you create even more questions for the prospect to ask you, which is not good, right? You don't want to create more, you don't want to open a can of worms to have more and more questions, right? So 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen really well, answer the question directly, and proceed to say, you know what, is there anything else you want to know before getting started? Keep asking that question. Just anything to know before getting started. Keep asking that question after you answer the questions, all right? So listen to what the prospect is saying to you. If they're saying that they want to join retailer, say, okay, don't try to sell diamond. Someone says, Rene, why don't I get started retailer? You know what? That's a fantastic decision. Let's get you started. I don't want to tell you, well, you know what, retailer is great, but no, you should go for diamond. Because if you start trying to push someone out of their comfort zone, you're going to lose them altogether. Okay, so make sure you listen to what's comfortable with them. Now, you might want to try pushing a little bit for silver. So, silver package, we have a trade up silver package, $399, gets you $500 worth of products. You might want to try that. But to go from 169 to 3,500 is going to be a big of a gap there. Okay, so my theory has always been once they're in, they can always upgrade later. But if you try to have someone wait until they bank up all that money to then join Diamond, you might lose them in that process. Okay, so I'd rather have them in first, have them upgrade later. Okay, again, if you push for Diamond, you might turn them off because you're not listening to them. All right, so some other really key topics here when it comes to the closing process, and I've seen people just destroy this process and really hurt themselves, okay? Because in the closing, you have to learn how to work with your upline. If you have an upline that you've invited to be there with you to help you close, or you're closing on behalf of one of your teams, make sure you guys go over this together here, okay? Number one, your job if you're the downline is to follow the leader's lead. Okay, your senior partners, your My5, they know from experience what to focus on and how to proceed with the closing process. Okay, by you not following their lead, if you're creating more distraction, you're creating more questions, you're not helping yourself. Okay, help us help you. So don't interrupt your upline when they're speaking. Okay, it really throws them off. So if your upline is talking, don't keep cutting in, because even though you're excited and we know that, we're trying to help you with your process. So do not interrupt your upline when they're speaking to your process. You have time to talk later, okay? It throws them off, and it reduces your chance of closing your prospect, okay? Your job as the LC, if you have the upline there, is just to have the 3 E's. Be excited, have energy, and enthusiasm. That's your focus there, okay? Your role is to back up and to reconfirm what the upline says. Never ever disagree with your upline. Wow, that could be the biggest mistake ever, okay? Don't ever, again, cut your upline off, disagree with them, If your upline is suggesting to your guest to get a position, you should be agreeing. So yeah, that's absolutely, you should be agreeing and just, exciting, not talking, but showing that you agree to that, right? Okay. Now, sometimes when the upline is done all they can, they will basically step away and to try to let you finish the closing process. So if I know that I've done all I can, and that because sometimes the prospect just wants to talk to you, they don't want to keep talking to me because I've done my thing. If I get the feeling they're not ready to join yet, I'm not going to go and force that. So what I do is I do what's called like a washroom close. It's called the washroom or the bathroom close. I tell the person, I'm gonna get a coffee, go to the washroom here. Why don't you guys just keep talking amongst yourselves? So when I walk away, okay, I don't want you to follow me to the washroom. Okay, I want you to continue the closing process with your prospect. Okay, because sometimes they just want to have that quick chat with you, and your job when the upline walks away now is to again reconfirm everything the upline said and to promote, again, getting a position. Okay. Number 7, your job is to not be desperate, but to be assertive. Okay, confirm that it's a great decision to get started today. Don't be pushy. Okay, be assertive, not aggressive. Okay. And again, the key point here, folks, is that the LC and the upline work together to show the guests they can benefit and receive value from getting started. One of the most important things when it comes to closing in any kind of a sales business is number one, again, answering all of your guest prospects questions. to have them understand everything, from the way you see it, but to answer their questions too, and to allow them to see value. Like one thing that I love to mention as well too, that you might want to write this down, is I tell people, look, this business, you're not actually spending extra money. Okay, when you had to go join that previous juice, healthy chocolate, I don't know, different kind of multi-level marketing companies, 99% of the time, you're actually taking extra money out of your pocket to join those companies. Here's why. You weren't, for me, I wasn't thinking about buying vitamins. That thought never crossed my mind. That thought only crossed my mind because someone was trying to sell me these vitamins, right? So I had to additionally take out more money to get into that program to make more money. Here's the difference. At GWT, you're not actually spending extra money because you already spend this kind of money already buying shoes for yourself, buying belts for yourself, sunglasses, jewelry, watches, accessories, right? The things that we have in the company are products that people already buy, things that you already buy, or you give us gifts. Every single year, you have to give gifts for Christmas, birthdays, different occasions, right? And when you give gifts, you have to go to the store and buy gifts from the store, correct? But now, with this business, if you had the diamond package for $3,000 and you got the incredible, IA promotion and you got $6,000 worth of products, think about this. If you spent $3,000 buying gifts either this year or over the next 2 years, you would have spent $3,000, correct? But if you had the diamond package, you now have $6,000 of products. That could buy you gifts for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So my point here is that GWT actually allows you to save money because instead of spending $3,000 to get $3,000 of gifts, you can spend $3,000 to get $6,000 of gifts. All right. So when I'm talking to my prospect, I want them to see the value of what's going on here, that they're actually saving money, getting a business just by launching with us. Okay. One thing I also like to add as well too, and write this down, is I show my prospect, there's really only 3 ways you can effectively, for example, spend about $3,500. Number one, you shop with it. You go buy stuff. So the first way to spend $3,500 is you just spend it. Now the money is gone, okay? And basically, maybe if you guys want to see what I look like, I have a whiteboard behind me. Let's just try this really quickly. I'm not sure if you guys can see me there. I think you guys can. So hello. Here is what I like to do for people, whether on the whiteboard or at home. Okay. So what I tell them, folks, is look, so I'm just going to drag my whiteboard here a bit closer. Okay. So what I say to my prospects, look, number one, Mr. Prospect, there's only a few ways we can spend money here. The first way is we spend $3,500, okay, and you go shopping. So you spent that money, okay? After you spend that money, how much money is left? $0. So after you spend $3,000, okay, in the shopping mall, money's gone. Not a smart way to invest your money. The second way is we could spend $3,500, not spend, we could leave it in the bank. Leave that money in the bank, okay? If you got not, okay, 1% is pretty good at the bank right now. If you even got 3%, okay, I'll give you 3% on $3,500, okay? You roughly have earned on interest about $105. So what you would have earned or have in the bank is you have 3,500 plus 3%, which is roughly 105. You're going to have about $3,605 at the end of the year. So you made $100 leaving the money in the bank, if you're lucky enough to even get 3%, right? Which is better than zero, but it's not that great. The third way is the $3,500, right? You have yourself a GWT diamond package, okay? And instantly, what you'll get back from this is $6,000 worth of products, right? $6,000 worth of products. So I always tell my product, look, this one, if you think about it, you would have spent this money anyways buying gifts for people either this year or the next 2 years. But now you're getting $6,000 worth of product. You're actually saving yourself about $3,000 because you would have spent that money anyways buying gifts for people and buying stuff for yourself, right? So would you rather have zero? Would you rather have $3,600 in the bank? Would you rather have $6,000 of products, which will cover your gift shopping for the next 4 or 5 years? But more importantly, you now have a business to allow you to be able to earn financial freedom. Okay, so my point is that either which way you look at it, option number three, you actually made $3,000 because you're not spending that money now on buying gifts. So my point is, between three options, number three just makes the most sense. So hopefully you guys can understand what I'm trying to say there. My point is that you would have had to spend that money anyways, but now you're getting so much amazing products that it's going to save you money because you got $6,000 of products for $3,500. So that's kind of what I like to show my prospects a lot of the times as well too. I also mentioned how the other part of a closing as well is really getting down to the heart of it, to letting your prospect realize that look, if you, as long as you're working for someone else, and these are the things I always mention in all my closings. If you are always going to be working for someone else, if someone can tell you that you're fired, so if anyone can ever tell you these two words, you're fired, it means you are not in control of your life. You're not in control of your financial life because someone could tell you're fired, boom, money is gone, income's gone, now financial crisis. The beauty about being in business for yourself is no one can tell you you're fired. And that's what I love about GWT, is that you have a business here. And if you're gonna work, we all work hard already. Why not work hard for yourself instead of working hard to make the CEOs or the owners of your companies rich? So if you have a job right now, you're working so hard to make those owners rich. It makes sense to have a part-time business that's absolutely risk-free to make yourself rich. So these are the things I love to talk about when it comes to closing. Okay. And just to finish our training for today, I know I'm going a bit over time here, a lot of juicy stuff to share with you guys here, is here's what the survey looks like. Okay. So the main thing is, is their name, email address, that kind of stuff. That's fine. How they heard about the opportunity. Here's where it gets really juicy, because now you're asking them, what part of the tour did you find most enjoyable? Right? So if they're going to tell you that they love the products, talk more about the products. If they love the investment factor and having gold, diamonds, and silver, talk about that. The cool thing, again, going back to my example before, is if you actually got $6,000 worth of products and you got all silver products or gold and diamonds, that's a great investment too, right? Okay. The bottom part here, if they tell you which package they want to get started as, if I saw someone check off, I want to start as silver, I would say, oh, so I see here that you would like to start as silver. I would say, you know what? That's a great place to start. Let's get you started. Here's the application form. Boom. Don't even wait. Get right down to the point of it. All right. Because the more serious as well that they see you on wanting to get started, the more realistic and the more seriously they'll take you. If you keep kind of like just like hemming and hawing, not really moving forward, not really being strong at the closing, they'll sense that weakness, and people are attracted to strength. Because if someone knows from my reaction that getting started in this business is the absolute most best thing to do, and they can see that I'm excited for them to get started and that I want to get started, that shows confidence in myself, and people can see that. But if you're going to be weak and unsure and hemming and hawing, people don't want to join someone like that. So make sure that you're affirmative, you're confident, enthusiastic, high energy. And when someone tells you, I want to start as a gold or as a diamond, amazing decision. That's the best package to start with. Let's get you started. Okay. Otherwise, they might choose a retailer. Same thing. Let's get you started as a retailer. They might tell you, again, different kind of options here, right? But again, the whole point of the survey is to help you to be able to figure out, where they're at in terms of their mindset. And it's a great starting point for the closing. But what I taught you in today's training is really what you want to focus on as you go throughout the closing process. So that's pretty much, I know it's getting a little bit late here. I could go on for another hour when it comes to closing. I have sort of put down most of my little juicy things here. And the main thing, folks, is just to, when you're at the closing, just remember, right, um, that the closing probability is 100% related to the energy, excitement, and enthusiasm that you have. If and are you giving a good impression, right? I'd rather someone, because sometimes people are scared to becoming too strong or becoming too, not pushy, but too confident. You can never become too confident, right? I'd rather someone walk away from me today knowing that I was the most seriously convicted person for them to get started to make a serious income and might be a little bit pushy rather than them walking away and think, you know what, Rene was a really weak kind of guy, didn't really answer my question, and not want to follow me. I want them to know, you know what, man, that was a strong leader. If I were to do this, it would have to be with him. So, these are the things that you want to work on. It's not something you're going to learn overnight. The only way to get better in closing processes is to practice, practice, practice. You can only practice by doing more approaches. So you have to constantly be learning and striving to improve. Don't give up, keep going because eventually, over time, the more and more that you do this by a law of averages, you'll become much more effective. And you will see that with more practice, that the closing becomes higher and higher and most of the time, maybe out of every 10 people, 7 of them will get started. So all in all, that's the training for today. I want to say thank you for your time, and let me turn the call back over to our wonderful host Sophia and for any other questions or comments. So thank you, folks.
Wow. Thank you, Rene. That was a powerful, powerful, powerful training. And I have learned so much, so much, so much. Yes, we do have questions that have been coming on, and I think there was a hand that has been raised. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take your questions, and if you want to ask your question, you could raise your hand and I'll get to you. I would unmute you, and then you can unmute yourself and ask. But let's start with the questions that have been asked already. We have Vivek asking, can I review this and other presentations later?
Okay, actually, let me just make your life easier, Sophia. I'll go through the questions just back to back to back, so it's faster that way.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you, though. Yeah, you
no
can.
problem.
We actually have this recorded. I actually have been recording it myself as well too. So will have it available for you guys within the next hour to go in and to review. So yes, we do have that. Yes, the a question with the packages. So of course, for all that I'm probably aware of, we do have the new unified package pricing. Basically all of the material you want to grab from the back office, okay, once it's been released. It hasn't been released yet. So if you have people who have been looking at the business and haven't got started yet, you want to call them back right now and really motivate them to get started because they'll save themselves some extra money by getting started now. But once you get the email message from the company that the packages have been changed, you will see all the packages pricings different online, and of course go and re-download all the information. So delete all the older stuff, throw away all your older papers, download and print the new surveys, application forms, all that good stuff. Okay. Um, that was from Egan. From things from is it Nechi? Great teaching,
Okay.
Renee. On the Catchy. Sorry about that. I'm trying to learn how to pronounce different names here. The Catchy. Thank you. Um, Great teaching, Renee. I can't thank you enough for these tips. Oh, you're very welcome. How would you go back to starting conversations with people or prospects you didn't close firmly with or did not follow through on? Great question. So there are people out there that you've talked to already that perhaps you have lost touch with. When I follow up, okay, follow up does not mean to call them up and say, hey, are you ready to join? Follow up is almost like sometimes starting the whole conversation all over again. So it will involve, again, rebuilding like and trust, again, talking about, how's it going? A lot of times I'll talk, how's the family? How's the work? How are the kids? Spending the time to reconnect and to rebuild that relationship, okay? After that part is done, then, they're going to ask you eventually, well, Nkechi, well, what's new with you? And that's where you want to, again, go right back into 3 E's. I'm really excited. I mean, things have been going so incredibly with the business here. They're just launching these new products, going to the belts very soon. I mean, things are blowing globally. Things are booming, and I really want to get a chance to talk to you again about, building with me GWT into this market. So again, just to summarize, in terms of follow up and how to start conversation again, start back with like and trust, form, okay? Then when they ask you what's new with you, that's where you want to share all the exciting new updates with the company, okay? And then that will naturally progress to talking more about the business. And now you can book it like, I really want to get together again and show you, because I know last time you saw it, it's been a few weeks, a few months. I really want to show you again some of the details of the plan. So can we go for coffee again? Coffee on me. So the point of the follow-up phone calls is to reestablish that can trust. Again, share your excitement, all the new things happening in the company, and to book a time to get together again to go over the business one more time. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. I guess Janet Cooper just said, thank you so much for the training. Much appreciated. Very welcome, Janet. You're very welcome, Vivek, for answering your question. Cynthia says, yep, so the training will be available. I'm not in the back office. It will be available on the corporate YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to my website, you can do so, because I will send out a link to this training. If you go to my ourgwt.com, so ourgwt.com, after we're done, I will have this training session put under the closing. So under closing, so it's alphabetical from A to Z. Look for closing; it will be in there as well too. So thank you, Cynthia. Um, and so in terms of the pricing package changes, guys, I'm thinking it's going to be on Monday, but I'm not really sure. So just make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you check your emails, because you will see the company announcements when that is changed. So that covers all the questions. I want to thank you all for joining us on this gorgeous Sunday evening, I believe it is in Africa, afternoon here in Toronto. And again, Sophia, thank you so much for being my wonderful host, and couldn't have done it without you. So thank you for that as well
It
too.
was a pleasure, Rene. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Okay, so we'll end the call for today, and thank you so much, folks, and to the billion. Good night, everyone.
yeah, to the billion.
Okay, to the billion. Bye bye.